Have you ever felt your fire dying, even when your life seems easy? You wake up in warmth, you eat without hunger, you rest without fatigue, yet something inside feels empty. You call it burnout, or laziness, or a lack of motivation, but in truth, it is the quiet death of your spirit. Comfort is killing your edge. In the final years of the Edo period, there lived a young samurai named Renji. He was known across his clan for his natural skill with the blade, swift, graceful, fearless, but when peace spread through the land, Renji's sword grew silent. There were no more wars to fight, no more enemies to face. His days became soft and long, filled with sake laughter and idle conversations beneath the blooming cherry trees. At first, he believed he had earned it. After years of blood and sweat, he told himself this was balance. But within a year, his hands began to shake, not from age, but from weakness. His strikes grew hesitant, his breath shallow. He would visit the dojo and find his younger students surpassing him. Their blades cut air like lightning, while his seemed to drag through water. One evening, as the rain fell like needles on the roof, Renji sat before the shrine of his ancestors and whispered, "I no longer know who I am." His old master, a monk who had once trained him in both sword and silence, heard his confession and smiled, not in mockery, but in recognition. Renji the monk said, "A blade that never meets resistance will soon forget its edge. You have confused peace with comfort. Peace is earned through vigilance. Comfort is purchased with surrender." The next morning, Renji rose before dawn. The sky was gray and cold. He walked barefoot into the mountains, carrying nothing but his sword. There he built no fire, spoke no words, and trained in silence for 7 days and nights. Each movement was deliberate, painful, stripped of pleasure. The cold bit into his bones, and hunger clawed at his stomach. Yet with every breath he felt something awakening. On the 8th day, as the sun rose behind the ridges, he drew his blade and felt the old power return, not as arrogance, but as clarity. He bowed to the mountains and whispered, "Now I remember." Renji's lesson reveal. Renji's story is not ancient history. It is a mirror, because today, we too live in an age of peace, but not of strength. We have warmth, food, and entertainment on demand, yet we drift. We lose the pulse of purpose that once defined us. The flaw isn't that comfort exists, it's that we worship it. We measure our success by how little discomfort we feel. We avoid friction, delay effort, and label discipline as burnout. But what we call peace is often just numbness, dressed in luxury. The mind, like a blade, needs resistance to stay sharp. Without it, our emotional edges dull, our identity weakens. We forget the quiet pride that comes from mastery over the self. The hidden trap of comfort is that it pretends to heal you while secretly draining you. It gives you pleasure, but steals your power. Ancient principle plus modern psychology. The samurai called this balance between struggle and stillness, 90, the discipline of enduring with patience. It was not passive suffering, but a deliberate acceptance of difficulty as the forge of identity. Modern psychology gives this another name: stress adaptation. Neuroscientists have found that controlled exposure to challenge strengthens neural pathways, improves emotional regulation, and increases dopamine stability. In other words, the brain grows stronger through struggle, not comfort. When we avoid discomfort, our brain's reward systems collapse into dependency. We chase smaller and smaller pleasures because our tolerance for resistance fades. This is why scrolling feels easier than focus. Why comfort zones shrink until life itself feels exhausting. 90 was never about surviving pain for its own sake. It was about remembering that meaning grows where difficulty is faced willingly. The samurai believed that when you endure voluntarily, you reclaim your agency. When you endure unconsciously, you become a slave. To reclaim your edge, you must practice the 4 pillars of 90 each, an ancient concept rooted in discipline and reinforced by modern science. 1. Shin, no Kokoro, the heart within the heart, emotional explanation. This is awareness before action. The recognition of your own softness, the honesty to say, "I have become comfortable, and it is making me weak." Most people never reach this point because they defend their comfort as self-care. But the warrior looks at his avoidance and calls it by its true name, fear. Scientific explanation. Neuroscience shows that labeling emotions activates the prefrontal cortex, reducing amygdala reactivity. In simple terms, naming your weakness weakens its control. Action step. Each morning, before you touch your phone or coffee, sit for 2 minutes. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding today? Write it down. The act of confronting your avoidance turns fear into awareness, and awareness into choice. 2. Segyo, the art of self-control. Emotional explanation. Control is not repression, it is redirection. The samurai didn't kill emotion. He trained it. Discipline is not the absence of desire, is desire harnessed by purpose. Scientific explanation. Behavioral repetition builds neural efficiency. Every time you resist an impulse, whether it's checking your phone or delaying a workout, you strengthen the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that governs willpower and delayed gratification. Action step. Choose one indulgence to delay daily, not eliminate delay. For example, if you crave comfort in the morning, wait 1 hour before giving in. You are teaching your mind to obey you, not the world. 3. Kufu, creative struggle. Emotional explanation. This is the art of effort made beautiful. The samurai believed every challenge carried an aesthetica rhythm of persistence. Kufu means finding grace in difficulty. You stop complaining about the weight, and you start shaping it into your sculpture. Scientific explanation. Modern cognitive theory calls this cognitive reframing. When we reinterpret challenge as growth rather than suffering, we activate reward circuits associated with learning and meaning. Struggle becomes nourishment. Action step. When you hit resistance, mental or physical, pause and whisper, "This is the work," then continue. It sounds simple, but over time, this rewires your perception of effort from punishment to progress. For Kaizen, the way of incremental mastery. Emotional explanation. Perfection is a trap. The samurai knew that mastery is built one clean cut at a time. Kaizen teaches that small, deliberate improvements compound into unshakable strength. Scientific explanation. Neuroplasticity thrives on consistency over intensity. Repeated microactions reinforce pathways faster than sporadic bursts of motivation. The brain learns through rhythm, not explosion. Action step. Pick one. Discipline: reading, meditation, training, journaling, and improve it by 1% daily. Track progress for 30 days. Do not chase excitement. Chase precision. Over time, the act becomes part of your identity. Reflection. Renji returned from the mountains not to boast, but to serve. When his students asked what he had found, he said, "The mountain gave me nothing, it only took away what was false." That is the essence of discipline. It does not add strength, it reveals it. You already possess the capacity for greatness, but it's buried beneath layers of comfort, distraction, and fear. Every time you choose the hard thing, the cold shower, the focused study, the silent meditation, you polish the blade of your spirit, and every time you surrender to ease, you let rust creep in. The mind craves balance, but balance does not mean comfort. It means harmony between effort and rest, between discipline and grace. When you live without challenge, you are not at peace, you are simply untested. Remember this: the fire inside you does not die from exhaustion, it dies from neglect. The path of the samurai was not about war, but about mastery of self. To them, comfort was not the enemy, it was the test. Discipline is not punishment, it is the language through which your soul speaks to the body. It says, "I am still alive, I still have something worth fighting for." So when you wake tomorrow and the bed feels too warm, the air too cold, and your will to weak rise anyway, do not do it for motivation. Do it to remember who you are, because comfort may feed the body, but only discipline nourishes the soul. If you found truth in these words, walk with them, carry them into your morning, your work, your silence, and when you are ready to face your next mountain, return. I'll be here.